What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning into today's episode. And my guest today, you may know him best as Santino Marella. He is Anthony Carelli. How you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you.
How's your day going so far? What's like a typical day for you look like?
Oh man, so I had to coach last night, so I slept in a little bit. I got up at like just 7 o'clock, and then I got the kids. My son's getting ready for school, and the little one's she's a maniac, and then take the little one to the bus. And then today was an interesting day. We had the plumbers coming because we had a little issue. So just trying to balance. My wife was getting her workout in. I was watching the baby, and I have to go to work tonight again, coaching.
What do you coach?
I play wrestling.
Oh,
at Battle Arts Academy. Yeah.
Has that life as a dad with like the hecticness that's come with it? Did your time traveling on the road with wrestling like prepare you for maybe the life ups and downs or stops and goes rather?
They're very different, Like when you're on the road, you're living out of a suitcase and you're in rental cars and hotels, and you actually have a little downtime because sometimes, you got to wait for a flight, or you got to, sit on the flight, or you have a long drive. So you have some downtime to think and, relax. But when it's home, it's go, 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 go. If I have a spare second, I got to cut the grass, fix something, There's always projects on stuff like that. Sometimes going on the road is actually like the break. That's the vacation.
How are you in terms of being on the road? Like, was it just straightforward for you? You kind of just, catch your flights, prepare for your matches, or were you one of those that was a little more had your fun on the road?
I think I had a good balance. When I started off, I wanted to have a little fun, and then I always got my workouts in, and I tried to eat healthy. I wasn't a big drinker or club guy, that kind of thing. But once in a while, if you got to go out, if everyone's going out, then we got to go out.
Did you have like a usual group of people that were kind of your travel buddies, or did it vary?
Well, my first 3 years, I rode with Randy, and then he got his bus, so I was by myself. But no, then I rode a lot with Vladimir Kozlov when I was tagging with him, and then near the end it was Damian Sandow and Brodus Clay. That was our car. So it was 3 distinct periods of my on the road life with different cars, and they're all great times because it's your choice who you ride with. So obviously you're gonna ride with someone that you like and stuff.
Mm-hmm. You weren't on the bus. I would have figured that after the time spent with Randy, he would have let you.
No, he asked me, but you can hang out. I'm not hanging out in your bus. I'm going to be known as the guy that lives on the guy's couch.
Well, I think 10-year-old me right now, if he were to hop on this call and see that the accent, it wasn't as prevalent as the Santino we saw on screen, he would be so shocked. How often in your normal life, if you get recognized by maybe a fan or a person who knows you from your time as Santino, do they either get taken aback by not having the Santino accent, or do they ask you about it?
Yeah, no, I can see it in their face. I can see it. They're like, it looks like him, but it doesn't sound like him. You don't have to dig too deep to know I'm Canadian, right? But if you don't dig deep, then that's all you've ever heard. It's funny. There's a couple guys online right now on Instagram, and they put these characters on. And I don't want to see the real them. I just want to know them as the character and stuff. So, but the character actually. So my dad is an Italian immigrant, and at the time of my birth, he was still an Italian citizen. So I was entitled to my dual citizenship. So after I became the character Santino, I used that as an opportunity to get in touch with my Italian roots, and I became an Italian citizen. I got a passport. I studied the language. I learned the language, to the point where I was able to one time do a live interview in Italy. So I definitely. Got closer to my Italian roots because of the character.
Did you play Santino when you were in OVW, or did that
No.
No.
Yeah, I was Boris Alexiev right up until the day I debuted. I was driving to a live event in OVW, and Vince was looking for somebody Italian in the developmental roster. So I got a phone call, and they're like, "Hey, man, your background's Italian, right?" And I was like, "Yep." And they said, "Can you speak Italian?" And I'm like, "Yep." And I said a few lines, and I convinced them. And I flew out the next day, like literally the next day. Got to Italy the day after that because you fly overnight kind of thing. And I debuted the day after that, and it was just like boom, 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 and then it was like pack your bags, you're on the road for 8 years straight.
Wow, so that was such like a snap.
Snap.
Wow.
And I remember I was even asking him, like, what's going to happen to Boris? And they're like, forget Boris, man. This is Vince's idea. This is the whole character was his idea. So I had to sink my teeth into it, and that was it.
Wow. So when you were in OVW, then did you still have like the same level of like comedy to your character you were playing there,
No.
or were you serious?
No, not at all. When I was Boris Koloff, I had a little comedy, but then when I was Boris Alexiev, I was super serious. Like it was an MMA shooter gimmick where I just smashed people and judo throws and heavy strikes and submissions. It was like the opposite of Santino.
Wow. But were you pretty accepting? Like once it was pitched to you, like the character you're gonna be playing, like were you game for it in terms of?
Yeah, no, I mean. The opportunities don't come around very often. I was 30. I was 33 years old, and I'm 5'10", and I was still pretty green. And this was my shot, man. So I just, took hold of it and did not let go, man.
Yeah. When you got into wrestling, because I know you just mentioned you have like a judo background, obviously. Mm-hmm. Were you fighting and training with that, and that's what introduced you to want to wrestle, or how?
So I started judo at 9 years old, and I did judo right through university. That was my life. I was a judo athlete, and because judo is grappling, I did well in amateur wrestling, high school, and even in university. And in university, one of the guys on my university wrestling team, his dad was a former professional wrestler who had a school, just close to Toronto. And that was really my connection. That was my in. I didn't realize there was even like schools and stuff. I had no idea how to get in. And I thought I was too small. And then when I found out that, it's not really going to be a barrier, then I'm like, man, I'm ready to jump all in and commit to this,
Did you know like it was professional wrestling, or did you think it was?
No, I knew. Yeah, I knew. I was a fan. I was a fan of wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, it's funny because I didn't know. Okay, my first few matches. So my coach was trying to. He's from Bulgaria. He was like a super high level amateur wrestler from Bulgaria, like world level. And he was trying to explain to me that if someone's taking advantage of you, like during the heat, they're just getting stiff and they're just hitting you, like stiffing you, right? He said, just you have the ability, just grab them, take control for a second and tell them, like, relax, let's work. Don't take advantage of me. I'm not that, you're not going to take advantage of me. So I'm like, just take over? He was, yeah, just take over. I'm like, well, okay. So I thought there was like a realistic element to it. And so my first few matches, I just took over sometimes. And I wasn't, I just didn't know what I was doing. But I didn't realize there was so much, communication in the ring and working together and stuff like that.
Right. There's a lot of things that maybe the audience watching it casually wouldn't really know in terms of like the minuscule details of professional wrestling, such as like body language and, facial expressions. Those are so like key parts of matches that people wouldn't expect right off the bat. They would automatically assume like, okay, there's a physical element to things. There is, promo skills and being able to talk and, communicate with somebody. But in terms of like body and facial expressions, there's way more like intricate details with pro wrestling that goes into it. When did you, I guess, become familiar with those aspects of wrestling?
Oh yeah. I had my first kind of singles matches in 2003, and then 2004 I moved to Japan, and I was doing like the work shoot gimmick, Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until 2005 that I came to OVW, and I started learning that kind of stuff with Rip Rogers about storytelling and how to, naturally and organically get to the next place in terms of ring positioning without making it look like you're going there on purpose, kind of thing. There's a ring positioning is really important, and making it look like it's real. Right? They want people to suspend their disbelief, but it's not going to happen unless you make it look realistic and apply some common sense to certain situations.
Mm-hmm. From your time as a fan prior to getting into wrestling, were there any wrestlers that you gravitated towards in terms of like wanting to take bits and pieces of what they did and apply it to your own craft?
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge fan of Jimmy Snuka, Hulk Hogan, Davey Boy Smith. Those are my early favorites. My first few favorites were those guys. Billy Jack Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Bret Hart and Shawn. I used to hate Shawn Michaels, like as a character.
Well, I'd imagine being from Canada.
Yeah, and then when you start learning how to work, you're like, damn, he's like. Then you have a whole new appreciation for Shawn Michaels. And then there's, obviously everyone was a fan of Stone Cold and The Rock and Undertaker and man, but there's, I was a fan of Ricky Steamboat. Mm-hmm. Even guys like Perry Saturn, Yeah. He bust out some judo throws. Taz did some judo. So I was kind of always was able to identify those real techniques.
Were you growing up during the era in which the Montreal Screwjob happened?
Yeah.
So I'd assume growing up during that time period with that must have been a prevalent topic point.
Yeah, the whole, as a fan, trying to identify the subtleties that you can tell, oh, that's real. Look at his reaction. You can tell that's not normal, and they got us all, right?
Did you find the people closest to you, were they supportive of your wanting to pursue professional wrestling, or did they maybe turn a blind eye to it?
No, everybody knew if anyone could do it, it would be me. I had the skill set for it, but it must be terrifying for your parents. I mean, for me, it's different. My daughter's wrestling now, but I know what it's like. But for my parents, they're like, this guy's going to the circus, he's going to Hollywood, he's going on the road, they just didn't know what it was, what it entails. Am I going to get hurt? All that kind of stuff. So I imagine they were terrified a little bit, but they never told me don't do it. They never said you're crazy, you'll never make it. They were very supportive. Came to all my matches locally, came to WrestleMania, and my parents were very supportive.
So now on the opposite coin of that, now you being in the position that your parents were once in, now that obviously your daughter's getting into professional wrestling, how are maybe your feelings?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the WWE is, an incredible organization, very organized, very professional, very public. So it's a safe place, But then there's the in-ring stuff. She's coming off an injury right now. She blew her knee out down in NXT, but on the other hand, she got incredible physiotherapy and attention and the best surgeons. And so you just worry about freak accidents, but otherwise she'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And plus, I don't want to do it. She's like me. She started a bit later, right? She got signed at 26. I got signed at 32. So she's ahead of me. And she has her biology degree, so she kind of has something to fall back on. And yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, obviously, doing some crazy moves, but it's more exciting than nerve-wracking to sit back and watch her move up the ranks.
Right, and you're able to kind of apply your experiences and your knowledge into her, whereas maybe when you were getting into wrestling, you didn't have a direct person to kind of shed their knowledge onto you.
Yeah, but I mean, even my first coach, he didn't understand the performance aspect the way I do, and but I did have Rip Rogers. Rip Rogers was my most influential coach, and he was always someone that could shed some light on what's happening. Mm-hmm. He was kind of that father figure in the business for me.
Right. And now you're obviously in Impact. And when I was doing my research on you, I noticed that you're an authority figure down there. What does like your job now entail? Are you like a GM? Like
It's kind of like a GM. Yeah, it's called the Director of Authority, where I can make matches and stipulations, and if there's a ruckus going on in the ring, I can come out and say it looks like we need to have a match, and tonight the main event, and that kind of thing. But I'm actually wrestling. I wrestled in April, and I'll be wrestling next month. No, we're June, in mid-July. I'll be wrestling at the day after Slammiversary. So from time to time, if the body holds up, I'll have a few matches here and there.
Is this like your first match in a while? Because I remember you had the whole neck injury that kind of...
Yeah, no, I wrestled in April, last April.
Okay.
I was okay. My neck was tight. After the traps and everything were tight, but the doctor was able to, do some stuff, press some pressure points, and relax my neck a little bit. After you have surgery, your body is really it's just tight, right? It's worried. It knows that there's been something invasive, so it just tightens up in an attempt to protect you. But that tightness is actually very uncomfortable. So we have a really good doctor at Impact, and he's able to. Honestly, in a couple of days, I was like, "Damn, I can wrestle again," So knock on wood, and we'll see. I'll wrestle as I'm not going to put myself in serious risk, But as long as the body's feeling good, I'll wrestle a few more times. I got to show these kids how to do it.
Somebody's got to,
Yeah.
When getting back involved with Impact, was that an itch on your part that you got, or were you presented something that caught your eye?
It was timing, Up until COVID, I was running Battle Arts, just my wife and I, and I was there. I was there every day. I was there 16-hour days sometimes, and 12-hour days, and doing the maintenance and running to, it's a huge facility, and I wasn't very good at delegating, so I was doing everything myself, and it just consumed me a little bit. But since COVID, we brought in a new team, and it freed up my time to do the things I want to do. So it was actually really good timing. And also, I have small children now as well. My daughter turned 28 today, Bianca, or Ariana Grace, and I got a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. Well, my 1-year-old's turning 2 next month. But anyway, so I don't want to be gone all the time. So the Impact schedule was great. It's like I think it's like this month was twice. Next month is 2 weekends a month, and we just do double TVs. So that fit my lifestyle like perfectly, right? It's the best one, and it's fun to be back on TV, and not just to be on TV, but to produce television, and to see everything that goes into it. With direction and production and the talent, and if I want to stick around in the business as I get older, I'm sure I'm going to have to be a producer one day and get in on that side. And I like it. I like the production of television,
Right, you kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds there. You kind of get to have the wrestling aspect of your life still involved, but then you also have time to spend with your family, because the WWE schedule, I'm sure, was pretty rigorous in the sense of constantly being on the road, missing family functions and events and whatnot.
Yeah, if I was able to get that Booker T schedule, like 1 day a week, that's not bad. Yeah. But when I was there for many years, we were doing both TVs. So and it was Monday, Tuesday. So it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then you travel home on Wednesday, and you got half a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning you're gone again. So it was a day and a half at home, and that's tough. Like when you're only doing 4 days on the road, you have 2.5 days at home. It's a huge difference. A day and a half at home it's like it slowly catches up to you, But when there's 2.5 days at home, I could do that forever.
Mm-hmm. And then there's obviously the live events too, like the house shows.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday were live events.
Yeah.
And then you just did TV on Monday and Tuesday.
Because that was back when they taped SmackDown in advance, right?
Yes.
Okay, because now I think they do it live again.
Yeah, on Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's obviously a difference because then you'd probably get like Wednesday and Thursday to yourself, kind of.
Yeah, but I don't think they often do both TVs anymore. So if you're on Raw, you're just on Raw. So
Oh yeah,
you'll do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and that's it. And if you're on SmackDown, I think you do Friday and then live events after. So Saturday, Sunday. So I think SmackDown's a better schedule. I think it's 3 days a week, but I'm not positive though.
right. So the debut that you had it's referred to as the Milan Miracle.
Yeah.
That hearing that must have been crazy for you. Like in that quick, because we mentioned about the quick turnaround, getting to Raw that day and then finding out that your debut is going to coincide with you winning the Intercontinental Championship. From at the time, I mean, Umaga was being booked like an unstoppable force. So, you know, to win the title from him in your debut match must have been a crazy revelation to hear about. Mark's finding out.
Yeah, it was like I walked into the building and they were coming out of the production meeting, and Arn Anderson was like, you're having a good day. You're winning the IC title. And I'm just like, no, the IC strap, he said. And I'm like, IC strap? That's the Intercontinental Championship. I was like, what? And then someone took me aside and said, Vince wants to talk to you, this whole idea. And I was just like, not intimidated per se, but like I knew it came with a lot of responsibility and you have to perform. Like, I mean, talk about being thrown right into the fire. And I think we did, we executed the debut well and we were on the road.
I think a lot of people were able to relate to you too. In terms of like the emotional aspect being brought out of the audience, because obviously what we were presented with on screen was quite literally somebody being pulled from the audience so essentially what they were portraying was, a fan coming and winning the title basically. But I think, like you said earlier, you were saying that you were kind of on the undersized side of things, right? Like, so people were able to kind of relate to you in a way.
Yeah. No, it's true. Sometimes when I'd see people, like for example, when I was with Randy, he's 6'5" and massive, and people looked at him like, "Wow, it's Randy." But me, like, "Hey, what's up, Santino?" Like I'm one of them. And it was actually really cool that I got to get that experience of people seeing me as one of them.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever any part of you though? Because from when I was watching the product, I'd say from about 2011 through 13, like you genuinely got like over in the aspect of it was starting to become more than just like a comedy aspect of like your performance. Like you were performing well in the ring and putting on good matches. Like you could cut a good promo. Were you ever subconsciously thinking at any point, like, should we like really consider kind of, maybe having like a world heavyweight championship type storyline?
In the back of my mind, I always thought I was going to have another miracle moment, and it was easy to do because like I don't think anyone would have expected me to keep the title for a long time, but to have that moment, and wrestling's all about moments. I thought there was going to be a championship moment.
Because I think there was quite a few moments. I know a lot of people point to the Elimination Chamber thing with Daniel Bryan. For me personally, because I watched this pay-per-view live, this was back when pay-per-views were like $60 just on the spot. Now they obviously show them like more, on the network and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to watch now. So I remember I would get like the big events. So it was the Royal Rumble, obviously. And I remember it was the only 40-man one they ever did, and it came down where they did the whole fake out elimination where you rolled back into the ring. Yeah, that was the one where, like, obviously in the moment, I think the Chamber match would have made more sense if they were to pull the trigger between the two moments. I think I saw a recent interview of yours where I think you had spoken to one of the refs who was involved with the Chamber and that they were considering like changing the finish on the fly. Do you ever know like how close they were?
And no, I was talking to Mike Chioda. He was in the gorilla position where Vince is, and he was looking over at Vince, and he's like, "Man, he was close. He was close." They were going crazy in the gorilla position, and he thought they were. I kind of had a feeling like, so I wanted to buy a little more time. So when he had his finish on me, the finishing maneuver, I kind of fought up one time, and then he cinched it back in, and I wanted to fight up one more time. But the way he was pulling it, this is before my neck surgery, my bone was like right in my spinal cord. So I was like legit like, I had to tap for real. But I wanted to fight up one more time. It also would have given people more hope that I was going to win it. But I was also trying to create a window for Vince to say, screw it, we're going to change it, you know? Yeah, fuck. We got close, man.
Yeah, I think if there were ever a time, it probably would have been coming out of that show. Similar, because that reminded me, I mean, I don't know if you saw through the grapevine, like recent years, they did something similar with Kofi Kingston, and funny enough, Daniel Bryan was involved where it led to a, Mania match between them two, and Kofi ended up winning the title. I felt
Kofi Mania.
Yeah, something similar. I feel like could have been done with that storyline, but
yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the Santina Marella story, with winning the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 25, when that was first presented to you, what was your like internal reaction?
Well, one, I kind of felt bad for the girls because they've been working hard all year and fighting to get this match, and then I kind of stepped in and won the Battle Royal. So I have a lot of respect for the women's division, and I was like, sorry, but there's an unspoken understanding that when you're given the job, you're going to do the job that you're given, and you're not going to say no, right? So, but I knew there was the potential for some really good comedy and the dynamics between me and Beth Phoenix, and it's funny, that was actually probably my biggest like individual WrestleMania moment was actually as Santina when when I look at that in-ring post-match segment where I'm dancing and celebrating, and it was cool because the audience caught on that it was me, but the commentators were trying like, who is this diva? So it was pretty funny. But actually, we never on TV said that it was me playing my sister. We left it as it was a real person. And even at the end, when Donald Trump fired Santina runs on and Santina runs off right away, as if they're two people, two separate people, and that's how we left it. Santino never admitted that it was him playing his sister. So technically, Santina should probably be in the encyclopedia.
Yeah, technically. Didn't you make a recent Royal Rumble return as Santina too?
Oh gosh, yeah, 2020.
Wow, just to think, Santina has made a Royal Rumble return before Santino.
I know, and then it was and then COVID happened. That's how big of a return it was. It created COVID.
Yeah, it's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
What about the Cobra finisher? Was that more so you coming creatively with that, or was that somebody else pitching it?
Well, I brought it to the WWE character Santino. But it was taught to me by a guy in Japan. Just a guy, a friend of mine. He was in a bar, and he used to have this little trick. He'd do his arm, make this little puppet thing, kind of like a little wooden puppet. And that was it. It was just a funny little thing he did every time I saw him. And years later, I was in Atlanta. I believe it was Atlanta. We were at a live event, and I said, I'm going to try something. So kind of during my comeback, it's like jab and clothesline and jab, and then I did this thing, transfer my arm, hit it, and the people laughed right away. And I remember Cena was like, I'd keep that if I were you. That was anyway. So I started doing it just on live events. And then one day I went to Raw, and I was wrestling Zack Ryder, I think. And Ricky Steamboat was the producer, and he's like, you guys are wrestling, and you're going to go over, and Vince wants to see the Cobra. And I'm like, how does he know about the Cobra? And he's like, he reads the reports of the live events, and I guess the producers are saying Santino won via Cobra. So and that was once I did it on TV. It took a few weeks, and then it blew up. People would love it. I was crazy. I remember after a few weeks, I would gesture that it's time for the Cobra, and I'd see people jumping out of their seats, in my peripheral vision. And I'm like, damn, it almost didn't make sense how much they loved it. Like they loved it. Like it wasn't that amazing, but people loved the Cobra, man. It was crazy.
I could only imagine what the merch sales must have been like at the time, because this was probably about a decade ago. They were selling Cobras, like the sleeve, on WWEshop.com.
They would bring 400 and they would sell out every time. Yeah. They didn't. I don't know how many we could have sold, but I know that we usually sold out of the 400 they brought.
Do you ever think about a possible WWE Hall of Fame induction? Is it something that you have on your mind, or you kind of just happens?
I would love it, especially if my daughter's there and with the company, and if she could induct me, or as a thank you for bringing my daughter there, who's going to be like a megastar, they can. I don't know, but if it doesn't happen, that's it's not going to erase my career. It would just be a really nice accentuation piece,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in the coming years, depending on like where the locations are for the Manias, I know they've been going international a lot too. So like, if they ever hypothetically did like a Mania in Italy, I feel like that might be the place to possibly do it.
Yeah, or a return to Toronto would be cool too.
Yeah, I mean, because you're actually from Canada, obviously. They've been kind of going all over recently. I know they just did a pay-per-view earlier this year in Montreal, and then they've been going to like Puerto Rico. They're in London on Saturday, so you never know.
London, England?
Yeah, they're doing Money in the Bank. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for pay-per-views. Yeah, I love. That's my favorite part. My favorite part is the travel, is going to these cities, getting there a day early, walking around, and seeing just traveling. I was a geography major in university, and getting to go and travel and see the world was like that was the gift.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've obviously been in a Money in the Bank match before, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. Was that a match that you looked forward to, or was that one of the ones that was rough on the body?
No, I was just nervous because there's a lot to remember, and there's different chapters, and didn't, you organize it in your mind a certain way, but because I was worried about my memory. That's all. Just I'm not a memory guy. I don't memorize matches. I kind of try and call them in the ring, and call it live as it's happening, but there's no way around that. There's a lot of memorizing that takes place in those types of matches. But it was fine once you're in there. It's fine. The adrenaline helps you remember and stuff. But I didn't take any crazy bumps. I weaseled my way out of them.
I think Santino in kayfabe was afraid of heights. I think it was when he was trying to climb the ladder.
Oh, something. Yeah. I just step by step. The funniest thing in that match was when the match started, I just tried to do a jump for the briefcase, like from the ring, just a straight vertical jump. One of the announcers caught it, and they started I think it was Jerry, was like, he was trying to jump for it. But one thing I did in that match too, somebody hit me at the top of the ladder, and I slid down like it hit me every rung. And from the side angle, it looked wicked. It looked like a
Looney Tunes,
like a Three Stooges spot,
which I think is ironic because I think that Three Stooges movie in 2012 had just come out.
Thank you very much. It was a fun conversation. Maybe we can do it one day in the future again, continue from where we left off. And best of luck with the podcast in the future. I think you're a great host, and I think you can really go places with this thing.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.